On this week's dose, we are back with another classic breakdown of startups that recently raised. And first, we will break down Really Communications, the modern telecommunications company based out of Austin, a hometown favorite here.
Let's go.
In their recent $18 million seed round led by Mike Maples Jr., the founding partner of Floodgate and Polygon.
And next, you'll hear about Champions Round, a fantasy league startup that caters to Gen Z through their micro fantasy sports game. The fantasy platform just secured a $7 million Series A, led by Point72 Ventures and Goodwater Capital. Next, stick with us as we cover Immi, the world's first low-carb, high-protein, plant-based instant ramen company, which just raised a $10 million Series A, led by Touch Capital.
And we'll wrap up this week's episode with another food startup called Oats Overnight, which just raised a $20 million Series A to continue to drive the development of their beloved community-sourced oats flavors nationwide.
A fascinating dose filled with some new spins on some old favorites. Let's lock in.
Let's lock in.
You see here, kid? You gotta just go for it. Don't think about what comes after or what came before. You just gotta bend your knees, take a deep breath, and jump.
This is Venture Pill, your weekly dose of startups and venture capital. We break down recent startups in the news and interview founders and investors to help you stay informed in the evolving world of venture.
All right, so first company for today is Really Communications, based out of Austin here in the hometown. Love to see that. Hook 'em, baby. They just raised an $18 million seed round led by Mike Maples Jr., as we said, the founding partner of Floodgate and Polygon. So this company was founded by Adam Lyons, and he deems it, just a quick kind of one-line hitter, the modern telco, modern telephone company. Telecommunications company, maybe. And a little bit more on his background. I thought it was cool. Just snipped this, clipped this exactly from his website. Had a good little blurb about his path. He was born and raised in Pittsburgh. He was always a little different. He dropped out early at 15, moved out at 16. He's worked just about every job imaginable and been fired from most of them. So he's failed early and often, but he saw things he wanted to change. So when he went back to school, he founded a company called The Zebra, Zebra.com, the most visited insurance search engine in the world. So yeah, pretty cool there. Adam didn't know anything about tech or venture capital, but it didn't stop him from getting into it. And now he's working to pay it forward. So it really seems like the ideal guest. So if you see this, Adam, we'd love to have you on here in studio.
Seriously, incredible story.
Yeah, great story. But it really is still unfolding for Adam.
Nice. Founders say that you need to fail time and time again, and it looks like he got a lot of his failures out of the way in his formative years, 15, 16 at the odd jobs, and found something that stuck with Zebra, which I actually used to land my car insurance.
Wow,
and still
look at
use.
that.
Yeah.
Nice.
Still use. So again, thank you, Adam. Would love to host you in studio here one day. But moving on to Really, which is his vision for this modern telecommunications company, Really aims to be the #1 online retailer for phone plans and offer its own products and services alongside others. As Adam puts it, transparency for the entire space is critical for consumer trust, just as it was for insurance with Zebra.com, which again I can anecdotally attest to. Today, Really is already the most comprehensive wireless comparison platform in the nation, comparing over 379 plans across 50 carriers. Who knew there were that many plans even?
I mean, yeah, we could probably name the big dogs and some of the incumbents, but 50 is quite a lot. There's probably a lot we've never heard of, but they're really not stopping there. I didn't mean to make another really joke, but that's just a word I like.
Really, man?
Really. So they also plan to launch their own phone service later this year for people that really care. I'll just go with truly care about their community and privacy. And so according to Adam's post, which is how I actually saw this, I sent it to you right as I saw it on LinkedIn. The last piece of the modern telco puzzle is decentralized wireless. So throw in another buzzword acronym term, DY.
Right.
Pretty cool, right? As you hear of DeFi a lot, DY. It's not DY, it's DEWI, just to clarify, decentralized wireless. So what is that? They're bringing the sharing economy to telecom with a system that will allow eligible individuals and businesses to make money broadcasting cell signal from their properties by converting their unused internet bandwidth. So a little bit similar to a company we covered early on
Back when.
in an early dose, Helium, which kind of, I don't know if it really panned out. Kind of similar, but maybe taking a new spin on that.
Yeah, definitely similar. And you can't help but wonder what decentralized wireless truly entails. Thankfully, Really will be releasing their white paper about DY in the coming weeks. And without getting too into the nitty-gritty of the blockchain technology, not that you and I necessarily have the capacity to do so anyway, the general idea here is to reward early contributors to the network via tokens and to eventually be able to pay out these contributors via dollars or other more commonly used currencies. And, it's really sound the alarm. I don't think we've covered a startup that's tackling this space. This is a pretty interesting cross-section. Maybe that's because it's been dominated by some of those behemoths for so long, some of those larger carriers that we've discussed or that we're thinking about, like Verizon, AT&T. But Adam has already done it once before with Zebra in the insurance space, which was also very dominated by the big players. And I think the telco space is equally ripe for large disruption with Really.
Yeah, I think so. It'll be exciting to see. We see a lot of companies that have taken crypto or Web3 concepts and try to bring them to an archaic industry. And a lot of times I feel like we haven't seen it quite pan out just yet. So, whether this is early or not for Really, I think they're onto something here. And there's a couple elements to the business, right? It has the kind of the aggregator comparison website type of vibe that Zebra does, but it's also their own network that they're creating with this decentralized wireless. So a couple of cool aspects to this. We'd love to have Adam on the pod, so maybe we'll post this, tag him on Twitter, get him on soon to tell a little bit more of his story. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, that'd be really cool.
Pretty.
Okay, transitioning over to our second story on this week's dose, we have Champions Round, which just secured a $7 million Series A. The round was co-led by Point72 Ventures, which is Steve Cohen's firm, the owner of the New York Mets, and Goodwater Capital, and also included investment from Quest Venture Partners, Pipeline Capital, Gangels, and more. A little context to set the scene here. Fantasy sports are incredibly popular.
Oh, yeah.
You and I both talk about it. When football season's going on, that's at least 25% of our conversation. But to provide some numbers to back up that claim, the market size of the U.S. fantasy sports industry was almost $9 billion in 2021. Over 50 million people play fantasy sports just in the United States, according to a super interesting report from the Fantasy Sports and Gaming Association that we'll be sure to link in the show notes. Great read.
Yeah, definitely check that out. That said, users, particularly Gen Z users, are starting to move away from the more traditional fantasy sports and gravitate towards daily fantasy sports. So it goes along with this trend that we're seeing just in general content creation and consumption, getting shorter form, everything's short attention spans. So everything's heading in that direction. I think fantasy sports fantasy sports won't be able to hide from that. I think maybe we're a little bit out of that generation.
Kids these days, man.
Kids, God, so young.
Commit to something.
We were joking earlier because I was wearing my regular earbuds, and it's like those kids probably are like, why do these AirPods have cords?
Yeah, are those wired AirPods? Do they sell that now?
So those same kids are going to be wanting to play something more engaging every day, even shorter than that. So players compete over short time intervals rather than being tied to an entire season. And the FSGA reported that more than 30 million people in the U.S. today participate in daily fantasy already, like through more of the traditional, well-known sites like DraftKings.
Right, so pretty significant chunks of the U.S. population, and these are all 18-plus people as well. And so Champions Round, what they're offering is to match this incredible demand and popularity for fantasy sports, is they're offering micro fantasy sports, which are short form games that users can play daily, weekly, monthly, or quarterly. So again, instead of being tied to a full football season, now you're just tied to it for a week or a month. The platform offers 6 unique game modes, and we won't get into them right now, but the names are pretty cool, so we're going to run through them real quick. There's Daily Dozen, Boost Ball, Big Board, Spicy Slips, 7 Steaks, and Sunday's Best. I like the sound of Spicy Slips already. And as you mentioned, there are some powerhouses in the daily fantasy space like DraftKings and FanDuel, but the differentiator here is that those powerhouses require money to play, whereas Champions Round offers 2 options. Of course, there's also the buy-in option, which is legal where sports gambling is legal, but it's also free to play for people in Texas where it's not quite legal yet.
Right. Additionally, they reward content creators for playing fantasy league games with their followers. I know you were loving this.
Yes.
Maybe getting the gears turning.
Right in the wheelhouse, right here.
I could see those gears really just grinding in there. They didn't really specify how much influencers can earn, but regardless, very cool concept.
Yeah. Not in it for the money here.
No, of course not. They've got some notable influencers already. So Dom2K, you may have heard of. He's got 400,000 YouTube subscribers, a variety of other fantasy sports personalities. And the platform also received, we should mention, backing from some professional athletes, such as one of our go-to favorites.
He's back.
Up there with the chain smokers, Baron Davis, former point guard in the NBA for a longtime Warriors player. It also included investment from Melvin Gordon.
Right. Recent Super Bowl champ.
Recent Super Bowl champ. Love to see the Gordon getting in there.
Mm-hmm.
Some cool celebrity investors too.
Right, and now just to highlight some of the growth that Champions Round has experienced in the early going here. So the app launched in September of 2021. 2022, the app averaged 28% month-over-month growth, which, is truly explosive.
Yeah.
And the app has seen over 10,000 downloads to date across the App Store and Google Play, which is the Google App Store for Android.
Yep. And so this funding is going to be huge for them to go toward developing new creator rooms, kind of this cool new feature which would help the creators engage with a larger audience and monetize that audience. We'll be curious to see what they develop there. Mm-hmm. And also just to continue beefing up their social media presence. That's going to be key to build this brand and get out there in front of those younger audience members. This brought to mind some recent companies that we've interviewed. One of our friends, Jonah Fialco of Bracketology. If you've been following the Instagram, we've been digging into the bank of old clips, and I love to see Jonah pop up there. Hope all is progressing for them, but similar space, right? Fantasy games for reality TV.
Right.
We also covered a company called Mojo several months back. Mm-hmm. Just the rise of fantasy sports, the changing laws. It's a really cool space.
Yeah, this is totally one of the sectors of venture capital that I feel like is right in our wheelhouse. I'd consider myself a subject matter expert here. Definitely recommend re-listening to the Bracketology interview, or check it out if you haven't yet. It was interview 45. Jonah was awesome, and March Madness is right around the corner, so
get hyped.
It's Bracketology time.
I wonder what kind of March Madness, speaking of, I wonder what kind of stuff Champions Round's got going for that.
True.
It's got to be some fun.
Yeah,
we'll have to dig in.
We'll have to dig in a little bit, but like I said, we're not interested in launching a league with the Pilgrims out there for the money. It's really just it's for pride, like all good things in life.
Oh yeah.
I want to go toe to toe with our fantasy sports loving Pilgrims and see who's the best.
You know what I've always, it's a little bit off topic, but a tangent I wanted to bring up real quick is I've always kind of thought we could start some sort of league with the Pilgrims where we could choose startups or founders or venture capital firms to have on our team or in our portfolio, kind of a fake portfolio, cool. And just track that over time and compete with each other.
Who would be the first overall pick in that draft?
Interplay Learning, Alumni Ventures.
Those are excluded.
Yeah. Okay. Well, maybe it'd be like a keeper league, and those would be keepers, right?
Now we're thinking. Yeah. I like the sound.
So we'll get back to you on.
Let's circle back. All right, and next we have Immi, the world's first low-carb, high-protein, and 100% plant-based instant ramen brand, which just landed a $10 million Series A, led by Touch Capital, with participation from a who's who of celebrity investors.
Love a good who's who.
Love a good who's who, including Naomi Osaka, Usher, Apollo Ono, Olympic legend, by the way. Let's clarify for the young kids who may not know these days that are playing micro fantasy sports, including Kygo and more. A little bit of the backstory here with Immi. It was founded by Kevin Lee and Kevin Shanta Sirifan, who both grew up working alongside their families in the markets of Taiwan and Thailand, where making and eating noodles was a big part of their everyday lives.
Yeah, and I want to just quickly say it's very similar spelling Immi to Imma, not to be confused with Imma. One of our friends, Jack Rule, very early episode, our first interview was with him.
Episode 5, baby.
Episode 5,
yeah.
Was it? Okay, yeah. So not to be confused with Imma, just one letter difference there. But back to the story of how they started this. So they started Immi to help their families better manage health conditions arising from poor nutrition and unhealthy diets. So the team spent 2 years in the kitchen with chefs and nutritionists to reimagine their favorite foods for modern diets. High quality ingredients that taste as good as they remember with better core nutrients in them.
Right, and now to give a quick synopsis on the state of the ramen industry, which was really fun to dig into. I learned,
State of the Union.
Yeah, exactly. Learned a lot on this deep dive, but 4 billion packets of ramen noodles are sold each year. The global instant noodle space is projected to reach $32 billion by 2027. Pretty remarkable. That said, the product has been dominated by the same 3 incumbents. Big Ramen.
Screw Big Ramen.
Down with Big Ramen for years now. And those 3 incumbents are Cup of Noodles, Nongshim, and Maruhan. The ones you've seen in your HEB, your local grocery store time and time again.
I can just picture that one that's like orange and yellow. I don't know which one that is.
I think that's Cup of Noodles.
Okay.
Devils!
But the ramen most people buy in grocery stores includes noodles that are made of refined carbs that get oftentimes cooked in oil. Yeah,
Yuck.
your stank face for the folks that are just listening to this. While the soup packets are high in sodium and preservatives, while it may taste good, it's not good stuff in there.
There's a lot going on under the hood, and not in a good way.
Let's just say, So, and that sets the stage nicely for Immi, which is low carb, high protein, high fiber, plant-based, all the hyphenated words that you could want.
Multi-hyphenates.
Alternative, looking to shake up the ramen industry, and they're doing it. And you can tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, segueing into the growth here, over the past 2 years, Immi has seen astronomical growth in online demand across its website, as well as Amazon and other online wholesale channels for its 3 base flavors. And these flavors get my mouth watering, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
So first we have black garlic chicken. There's also spicy beef. And lastly, there's tom yum shrimp. In 2022, Immi began expansion into retail channels like Whole Foods and others, and has seen strong, sustained retail velocity, which was actually a pretty cool term I saw for the first time. So to break it down real quick for our listeners, retail velocity is the speed at which your product sells in a given store, and is typically measured in units per store per week.
Yeah, I'm sure they're laser focused on maximizing that retail velocity. Since launching in just January 2021, so a little bit over 2 years, they've grown 6x. They've sold out 7 times, and they've launched in multiple retailers, as mentioned, with more to come this year. So this capital is really just pouring fuel on the fire. They're going to enable this company to hire for more key leadership roles, expand the lineup of flavor offerings. I'm sure going to be more salivatory. Is that even an
Salivacious?
Salivacious. I love it. More juicy flavors, and they're going to scale the retail footprint nationwide.
Yeah, excited to see the growth here. Safe to say, Immi is bringing a whole new meaning to the ramen noodle diet.
Love it. Yeah, I'm excited to try it. I basically only eat ramen when I'm out. Like, we have a local favorite if you're in Austin, Ramen Tatsuya.
Stop, man, I'm hungry.
So good. So good. If you're ever in Austin, give them a try. But I'm not usually the guy that's making ramen at home. Maybe I will be now.
Likewise.
So, speaking of food, if you're hungry there, just start to think about next morning, because we're talking about Oats Overnight, which just announced a $20 million Series A round.
It's a lot of oats.
A lot of oats, yeah. A lot of oats, a lot of overnight action. And the round included participation from Sing Capital Partners, BFG Partners, Impatient Ventures, and a bunch of others. This company was founded by a guy named Brian Tate about 5 years ago. It was born out of his personal desire for really good, easy to make overnight oats.
Right. So he got to experimenting in the kitchen like any good entrepreneur would do. And in his words, the initial batches tasted like shit, which, you can imagine is part of the iterative process that we've covered time and time again.
Got to start somewhere.
Got to start somewhere and refine it over time. And it seems like he eventually turned chicken shit into chicken salad, as after many more iterations, the company has now launched over 20 flavors and is selling like hotcakes across the nation, both over retail and online.
Yeah. Now, we haven't even mentioned their special sauce yet. And what has really allowed Oats Overnight to set themselves apart from other brands and really to set themselves apart from the traditional food brand outside of Oats is the community that they've built. So super cool here. They have over 100,000 subscribers that they survey every single month, basically. And the R&D team at Oats Overnight wants to hear directly from the horse's mouth. What flavors should they release next? They're crowdsourcing that. They're giving it to them, staying up with the trends by keeping a pulse on their customers. Really cool.
Really cool.
Oftentimes they'll have that new flavor ready to go as early as 3 months after the iterative process, kind of the surveying had begun, and maybe a little longer sometimes, but they're rapidly releasing new flavors. It's really cool.
Yeah, it reminds me, I don't know if this rings a bell for you or any listeners out there, but Lay's had this period in time where they were outsourcing flavors from like fan votes essentially.
Oh yeah.
And it was probably the most excited I ever have been going to a grocery store. Like,
wow.
No way they put chicken and waffles in a potato chip. Like, science is going too far. No, but it was awesome, and I love the community aspect here, of course. Moreover, the oats are developed and produced all in the United States, something that they are holding strong to and are very proud of.
Heck yeah.
Especially in the face of other companies that may typically outsource this. And this is not something that's just for pride or for providing local jobs in Arizona, which is where they're based. It's truly a key part of what feeds their competitive advantage, which is the iterative flavor creation process that they go through with their customers and their community 100K strong, like Daryl K. Royal. Additionally, they also need their own staff and facilities to be able to take feedback and create the flavors reliably and scalably.
Yeah, and so the funding is really going to allow them to invest in that. They're going to build a brand new 85,000 square foot facility out of Phoenix. It's going to help them keep up with this demand. And they're going to continue to grow within the stores that they already have business in, which include Whole Foods, H-E-B, a local favorite in Texas,
yes,
and Walmart, a bunch of others. So they're already on a great track. This funding is going to allow them to continue growth there. And continue the growth on their direct-to-consumer model as well. Love that they're keeping the jobs in the U.S., but it's really cool that they're making that part of their special sauce too.
Totally. And these past two companies we've covered, Immi and Oats Overnight, remind me slightly of Magic Spoon, which I know we covered a while back.
That's a favorite.
It's a similar, that's probably a
Pilgrim favorite,
late first round pick.
We could have it to where you only pick companies that we've covered or interviewed.
Oh yeah, I thought that.
Oh no,
totally.
That wasn't okay. No, I thought more just broadly like any company. Okay, that's cool.
So that's
we'll build it into the Pillfolio.
Yeah, that's a late first round pick on my mock draft.
Okay, yeah. I mean, maybe we should make some mock drafts.
Yeah, bring in expert bracketologist Jonah Fialco to help us.
Adventure Pill senior correspondent Patrick Sweeney.
But yeah, they remind us of Magic Spoon, which is they're kind of changing up the traditional model for this food. They bank on this nostalgia favorite. So with Magic Spoon, it's cereal, which for me and probably most kids our age, it's Saturday morning, you're watching cartoons, you're eating cereal, maybe you're watching SportsCenter for me as well.
Yeah.
But whatever it is, cereal was always by my side.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a more healthy, modern take with modern diets and also a very strong social media footprint.
Yeah.
And both of these companies seem to be following in that similar blueprint and doing well so far.
I think also it's important to mention with all three of these that the core ingredients that go into these are very cheap.
Right.
I think. I mean, not knowing exactly what their cost structure is, but that's what I think allows them to make this a venture-backable business is these are low-cost ingredients put into something that they're marketing really nicely, usually, and with better health. with better health components. So it's a great recipe.
Totally.
It's a great recipe for success.
Nice. Yeah, totally. I mean, put that with some good social media, some good influencers,
Yeah.
exactly, some celebrities behind the brand, and all of a sudden you're on the front shelf at HEB.
We should do like a tasting of all the food companies that we've
and
done.
drink, that'd be cool.
Yeah. Get some Liquid Death. Get some. What's the mushroom one? I forget the mushroom one, but
Don't even bring up the mushroom one. There's that sweet drink, like sweet proteins. Remember?
oh yeah, sweet proteins.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe there's a
classic.
tasting. We could do a little segment.
That'd be fun.
Yeah. Anyways, South by South coming up. Coming up. We're recording this beforehand. If you're listening to this when it comes out, which you will be. You're not listening to it beforehand. If you're still around in Austin for South by, hit us up.
Yeah.
We'd love to do something. We will have been out on the streets, so take a look or keep a lookout for the content to be flowing on our social media. We're gonna get some boots on the ground marketing
That is
going.
the motto for this upcoming week.
Oh, it's this year. It's all boots on the ground.
It's true.
So,
But yeah, keep your eyes peeled. If you're in town, keep your eyes peeled for the t-shirts, the stickers. Reach out to us. Would love to meet our pilgrims out there that may be in town.
yep.
But as for this week's dose, we covered some major institutions. We're talking telecom, fantasy sports, ramen noodles, and oats.
Yep.
And all of these companies that are taking these new innovative approaches to changing the game. The disruption alarms are ringing in my head. I'm sure they are in yours as well.
Yep.
And it was another fascinating dose for all our pilgrims out there. Good to finally get back to a traditional breakdown dose.
Yep.
As awesome as our interviews have been recently.
If you're listening to this, maybe on Spotify, Apple, whatever you traditionally do, check it out on YouTube. So we've got the cameras set up, which has been fun just to get a little bit more personality in there. If you want to watch us, see our beautiful faces. I know we have great voices, but they go great with the face.
Yep, and keep following and engaging us on social media. We're loving it. We're seeing some nice increasing engagement from the fans, so we appreciate that.
Yep.
And lastly, we're recording this episode on Wednesday, March 8th, which is International Women's Day.
Yep.
And we would be remiss not to wish Happy International Women's Day to all of the women pilgrims and listeners we have out there.
Yes, and one more thing on that note, it's a great call out. We really need to and want to host more women. We've only had one so far as Mai Shapashnik Kadena, who, by the way, is raising around right now for vetted pet health. Love to see that. We'd love to have some awesome women on the show. We're in talks with some, scheduling those out. But we would like to diversify and have some more women on the pill. So
well said.
if you have anybody, please send them our way. We'd love to interview them and get some more women in the action.
Yep, well said. And that's a wrap on this week's dose. Thanks for listening. Take care, y'all.
Signing off. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another dose of startups and venture capital. And as always, we appreciate our pilgrims spreading the word about the show. Share with your friends and help someone else make the pilgrimage. See you next time.
She told me that she only bumps my music when she's lonely. Thinks my vibe's a little low-key, okie dokie, that's alright, but wait, I don't know how to do